All right, just picture this. You're one of the most wanted men in America. You've got $250,000 in cold hard cash, a pocket full of fake IDs, and you have sworn you will die before you ever go back to prison. Well, that was Magar Mansoor, and for 5 absolutely frantic months, he led the FBI on one of the most intense cross-country manhunts in modern history. So let's break down how this all went down.
You hear a quote like this from an FBI detective on the case, and it tells you everything. Right away, this changes the entire game for law enforcement. You know, this isn't just about an arrest anymore. It's a potential shootout just waiting to happen. Every single encounter could be the last one, not just for the fugitive, but for officers or for any civilian who gets in the way.
This chase, it literally stretched across the entire country over 5 long months. It all kicks off with one brutal crime in Las Vegas. That triggers a deadly escape in New Orleans, which leads to a desperate gamble in Atlantic City, and it all comes to a head in a final showdown in New York City. So let's start in Vegas, where one crime unraveled his entire world. Back in December of 2000, Las Vegas was pretty much Mayor Mansoor's personal playground, but one violent act in a casino parking lot was about to bring his whole operation crashing down and set off this insane nationwide manhunt.
You know, this is just a perfect example of classic, solid police work. The key moment? It was that patrol officer spotting that red sports car. Now, even though the driver totally gets away, getting that license plate number was everything. It led them straight to his wife, who was completely blindsided, and she confirmed he'd just packed his bags and vanished. And just like that, they had their name, Magar Mansoor.
So who was this guy really? Well, he was the perfect predator. On the surface, he was charming, he was sophisticated, but underneath all that, he was a diagnosed sociopath with a long and incredibly violent criminal history. This is a guy who could talk you out of your entire life savings, and he had absolutely zero conscience about it. A truly, truly dangerous combination.
And his main hustle? It was brilliant in its simplicity. He'd find wealthy foreign tourists, pose as a helpful tour guide, earn their trust, and then completely clean out their hotel rooms. By the time police were even onto him, he'd already pocketed over $250,000 in untraceable cash and jewels. And that money? Well, that became the war chest that would fund his incredible escape.
So the FBI is now in the game, but Mansoor, with a bag stuffed full of cash, had just disappeared into the wind. I mean, for a whole month, the trail went completely cold. And when he finally did pop back up in New Orleans, the stakes got tragically, fatally higher.
Okay, this is the moment where everything changes. At the New Orleans airport, a cop asks the disguised Mansoor a simple question, and it sends him into a total panic. He attacks the officer, carjacks a truck, and in that insane, wild escape, he hits and kills an innocent highway worker. So now, he's no longer just a wanted felon. He's a cop-assaulting murderer on the run.
But in his panic, he makes a huge mistake. He drops a bag. And inside that bag, the FBI finds a fugitive starter kit. I'm talking a stolen passport with his picture badly glued in, lists of stolen credit card numbers, but most importantly, a whole stack of casino players' cards. This wasn't just evidence, it was a treasure map leading right to his favorite hunting grounds.
So, those casino cards were the key. They showed a really clear pattern, and one city just kept popping up, Atlantic City. So the FBI made a calculated bet. They knew Mansoor was a gambler and he had to be running out of money. They figured, it's only a matter of time before he comes back to the tables.
And they were absolutely right. A quick check of casino records showed that just 6 days before that murder in New Orleans, Mansoor had a $50,000 payday in Atlantic City. A score like that doesn't last long for a guy on the run. Convinced he'd be back for more, the FBI plastered his face on wanted posters all over the city. And then, they get a 1 in a million break. An off-duty state trooper on vacation walks into his hotel room and finds Magar Mansoor just standing there. Can you even imagine? He recognizes the face from the wanted posters and somehow has to play it cool. In this really strange, calm moment, Mansoor just walks away. But the damage was done. The FBI now had a confirmed sighting. The net was closing in. The close calls were clearly making him sloppy and way more violent. He botches a robbery, pulls a gun, and carjacks a taxi. And then he tells the terrified cab driver that he is not going back to jail and he will kill any cop that gets in his way. He wasn't just spiraling anymore, he was practically looking for a final, violent confrontation.
This was the final escalation. On May 9th, the FBI puts Mansoor on its infamous 10 most wanted list. I mean, this is the big leagues of crime. His face was now on every single news channel with a $50,000 reward on his head. There was literally nowhere left for him to hide.
So, with his face everywhere, the pressure was just immense. Mansour knew he was running out of time and he was running out of options. He makes one last, incredibly bold move, heading for the biggest city in America, setting the stage for a final, violent showdown.
Even on the ropes, Mansour was still a master of deception. He hits a jewelry store for $300,000 worth of watches, then pulls off this brilliant piece of misdirection. He makes a huge show of being dropped at the Philadelphia airport, making the FBI think he's fleeing back to Vegas. They scramble agents to meet the planes and come up completely empty. He was never there. It was a ghost.
So where did he go? Well, the answer came from a totally unexpected source, the limo driver from the robbery. He remembered that Mansour had a routine. On previous trips, he always got picked up from the same exact place, a specific hotel right in Midtown Manhattan. That was it. That was the little mistake they'd been waiting for.
So the hotel is immediately swarmed by an arrest team. They try a ruse phone call to his room, no answer. So they settle in for a stakeout, and the hours just tick by. Nothing. Then, suddenly, there he is, just walking calmly towards the lobby. After 5 months and thousands of miles, could it all really be over this quietly?
For the agents moving in, this was the moment of truth. As one of them put it, missing isn't an option. Think about it. They're in a crowded hotel lobby, facing a man who was promised to start a gunfight. One stray bullet, one tiny mistake, and innocent civilians could die. The pressure in that moment must have been unbelievable.
So in the lobby, the agents identify themselves, and Mansour does exactly what he promised he would do. He reaches for a gun. Before he can even clear his waistband, the agents fire. He's shot, and he dies on the way to the hospital. And just like that, the 5-month rampage was finally over.
You know, when you look back at how they actually caught him, the real takeaway here is the teamwork. This wasn't just the FBI. It started with one local patrol officer spotting a car, and it ended with a highly coordinated takedown involving multiple agencies. It's really a perfect case study in how law enforcement has to work together to stop a threat of this magnitude.
And that kind of brings us to one final thought. Mansour did all of this right before the world of total surveillance, facial recognition, license plate readers, GPS on every phone. It really makes you wonder, could a ghost like him even exist today? Or has technology made a 5-month run like his basically impossible? What do you think?